The year is 2005. The Decepticons now hold Cybertron. From within his stronghold, Megatron hatches a plot to snuff out the remaining Autobot resistance on Earth. Constructicons. I have a task for you, but first, you must assemble the other Constructicons. Your leader, Scrapper, the master designer, Mixmaster, the chemical engineer, and Scavenger, the salvage expert. Do not fail me, and remember, come back whole or not at all. And would you look at that? Done inside of a year. The whole gang back together again. We'll get back to the whole squad later, but for now, let's focus on these three new dudes. If you want to see the other three, check out my other 86 Constructicon video. Okay, so I think where we'll start today is by getting straight into comparisons, because if any of you were anything like me, you saw these new dudes and were like, I don't know if they're really that different to the Combiner Wars Devastator. But honestly, I think that's just a case of memories being sweeter than the reality of the situation. Because when you get them side by side, whilst the Combiner Wars one might be bringing the heat when it comes to pure size, they're pretty doofy and light and hollow and weird. They're just weird. But we'll start with Scavenger, because his original, well, you know what I mean by original, his is actually coming out the best. Right? The articulation is pretty similar. The proportions might almost be better. The legs are a little strange, but at least he's not wearing those MC Hammer pants. You might think that Mixmaster's not looking too bad either, but as soon as you turn him around, the Combiner Wars one is doing a real good impression of Queen Slug for a butt, and it's just weird. What is he, Waspinator? And I just think the main point in favor of these updates is the individual bots are selling the concept so much more. But you know, look at the hollow shell of the last version's arm compared to, well, the weird hands of the new one. But still, it's better. He is, as an individual robot, probably a bit better. Scrapper has definitely had the best glow up out of these three. The old one, he's only got like a swivel. He doesn't even have an elbow, and they're so little. At first glance, he looks really cool, but you know, the scoop just kind of sticks out the back there, making him duck through doors all the time. This new version is just so much crispier. So I think I said it in the last 86 Constructicon video. These new 86 versions feel like really good Unicron Trilogy toys, whereas this Combiner Wars version feels like an upscaled KO, really, if we're being honest. Alright, now, with that out of the way, let's take a better look at what these three boys are all about, shall we? And let's start with the leader, Scrapper. So Scrapper is the shortest of the crew, and that may well be canon, but for some reason that just feels odd. He's the leader. He should be bringing it a little more, in my opinion. I do think it's a little bit of like a tactical masterstroke to be the leader of the crew and then just make yourself a leg, because everyone is going to be going for the head or chest. It's the easiest, biggest, broadest target, right? Not everyone is Cobra Kaiing it and sweeping the leg. His articulation isn't amazing, especially by contemporary Studio Series standards. So that head is on a little bit of a ball joint. His arms will go all the way around with a little bit of finagling. He also ends up having a little bit of butterfly action, which is nice, and he can go well past 90 out of that shoulder. Bicep swivel, 90-degree bend to that little stubby wrist. His hands can fold in from transformation, but they feel small and a little bit lifeless. No waist swivel, which is a bit of a common thread with these guys. Articulated hip skirt, my favorite kind. Forward, back, thigh swivel, 90 bend out of that knee. Forward toe, and a really generous ankle tilt. So, you know, like I said, not the most posable by any means, but he can still throw some shapes. The fact that they're not the most posable dexterous dudes in the world, I almost feel like fits with their characters, canonically, because I don't think anyone is looking to the Constructicons for backflips, mainly just cartwheels. Woo! Mixmaster's a little bit of an interesting one. I did think that his torso looked a little bit long, something about him felt off. But then when I looked at him alongside the Combiner Wars one, I was like, oh damn, they have really done him justice, especially in terms of his kibbly kibble. They've done so much more with it this time around. The biggest fault I find with Mixmaster is his arms. They move weird. They have sticking points and strange shapes to them, and the little forearms that they all suffer from. Zero hand articulation. I don't know. His arms are weird. It's like he doesn't know what to do with his hands.
Weird. What do I do with my arms? I've never thought about that before.
I don't know what it is. For some reason, Mixmaster has always stood out to me amongst the Constructicons. I guess it was the way he could like mix up whatever he wanted in that tank and then be shooting acid and glue at peeps. It's a pretty good power set to have. Articulation-wise, that head is on a ball joint, but you know, it's pretty well recessed, so it's kind of hard to get in there and move it about. But that's his design, right? He's Mr. Hoodhead. The arms go all the way around, not quite up to a 90 unless you fake it a little bit. Bicep swivel with this weird fat tricep hanging off the back, then about a 90 out of that elbow. It is weird. It seems like the joint could go much further if it wasn't for the wheels sticking out there. The whole thing, it just makes him feel like he moves funny. Recurring theme of no waist swivel. But he's got universal at the hips, thigh swivel, a 90 bend from the knees in that way where he can use his own calves as a seat. Something I feel like more tradies wish they could do. No real back and forward on the toes, but then big tilt, but a tilt with no space filler, so it's an ugly tilt. Boo!
Smithies, are they booing me?
No, they're saying boo earns, boo earns.
So, you know, he's one of the better looking Constructicons, but he just feels a little odd when you're trying to move him about, manipulate him through the world. I have also liked with Mixmaster that with his coloring, it kind of looks like he's in a, like, early 1900s one-piece men's bathing suit. Like he's an old school circus strongman. Eggs and ham and eggs. And then we've got Scavenger, who might look the dumbest, but is also somehow kind of one of my favorites. I don't really know what it is. I have always liked being able to give him that sort of scorpion sting. And his scoop actually moves, so he can scratch his own head. His arms are too short, his legs are too short, his Harry High Pants is strange, but I really like it. He looks like a ye old Union dude, just like daring scabs across the line and see what happens. He hasn't got a bowl jointed head, but he's got a twisty head with a little bit of back and forward on it. Arms go all the way around on a bowl jointed shoulder. It's not something you see much anymore, but it does allow for a lot of freedom. And then he's got ball jointed elbows as well, which is delightful. No wrist swivel, but you can, you know, flick them in a little bit from transformation should you wish to. Something while I'm, you know, thinking about it that I thought was quite strange. His hands are molded in purple and painted green. There's obviously some kind of reason for it. It's a weird thing to have to do. They've done a good job because it's not immediately obvious. It's just something I noticed. Again, no waist swivel. What a surprise. He is the lord of the bowl joints, also having bowl jointed hips. He's got a thigh swivel. His knees are a little bit of a pain because you kind of have to have a slight bend if you don't want them to be clipped in. And like clip in, they do. They really clip in. It's a very strong clip. But then he can get to a nice 90. You can close those toes for a strange ballet foot if you want to. And then impressively, he does still have ankle tilt. So despite his odd proportions, he does actually end up being one of the most poseable out of the lot of them. He just feels so ready to throw hands at any given moment. I love this guy. Now, I should probably mention that each of them does come with their own little handgun, but they're so irrelevant that this is the only amount of time I'm willing to spend on them.
Enough pontificating. It's time to roll out.
Let's start with Scavenger. Chest down, head away, chest up, hands away, scoop out, shoulders back, arms down, tab. Arm down, tab, cockpit up. Scoop forward, legs up, toes together, post, post, done. Mixmaster. Back, out, close, open, click, flip, push, and it'll tab. Up, in, up, shrug and tab. Shrug and tab. Tab, port. So simple. Scrapper. Down, in, up, back, hands in, port, tab, click, click, feet together, scoop, down, cab, around, feet, up and over, click, click, fold, fold, scoopy boy. Dunsville. There is a beauty to that simplicity. That's a transformation you'd be happy to do time and time again. So simple. Meh, meh. The power of the cheerleader effect when you get them all together is not to be underestimated. It's just a really fun set of toys.
Constructicons, merge for the kill!
Tuck it down. Fold them out. Fold them down. Clip it up. Pull that down. Fold the foot out. Gonna tab. Tab, put tab. Fold down the face of the truck. Bring it up like a so. Tab in those heels. Untab the wrist. Ankle tilt. Lock in the foot. Arms out. Around. Tab back in. Hands out for stability. Spin the cockpit. Tab it in to attach Mixmaster. Fold down the concrete spout, then slide the leg into that attaching piece, close it back up. For Scrapper, you're going to want to tilt it back and split the leg, then it's going to notch in here and you just close it back up. Scavenger works very similarly. He's going to slide down on top of there, then he's going to tabbity peg peg, shift tab peg, control alt delete, shift command 4, and there he is, big bad Devastator. Live, direct, and in full effect. Not gonna lie, he's pretty great. Like, I know initially the first round of images and grayscale and stuff, and even like the product shots, make him feel like he's really squat, and it didn't feel like his proportions were right, but I don't know, it's some kind of trick of the lens, because when you actually have him in hand, he looks great. Biggest win for this guy is how incredibly sturdy he is now that he's together. Like, if you didn't know any better, you'd swear he was pretty well just a great big green action figure. At no point when you're playing with him does it feel like he's gonna uncombine. You're at no risk of pieces falling off. But that's not to say he's perfect. So whilst his articulation is pretty good, I do wish they'd found a way to get just a little bit more out of those elbows. Like, they're kind of almost only doing a 45 when you can tell that the joint would allow for a full 90 if they just had the clearance. It probably is always going to irk me that those knees don't feel centered on the shins. I mean, he's a, asymmetrical a-hole, so it's not the end of the world, but I would have liked it if it just felt a little bit more straight down the middle with those knees. I also feel like, especially with Scavenger, moving around that elbow joint brings out the scoop, which then loosens the way his arms are tabbed in to form the bicep. Similarly, Scrapper's arms being those back heels, they definitely don't tab in tight enough. So even though you're at no risk of any of the actual pieces coming apart, those pieces themselves, not every joint and tolerance is quite up to the task of being Devastator. As much as I love him, there's also not really any way around the fact that that backpack doesn't look great. If they just found some way to shuffle it up so it sat right between his shoulder blades, it would actually look cool and thicken him out so much more and add to the mass that you expect from Devastator. As it is, it's just a bit ugly. It looks a little bit like when Homer pegged all of his fat to the back. So I didn't make a big deal of it, but Scrapper does also come with the two pieces that you need to make his Devastator gun, but it really doesn't tap in very well. It's a floppy nightmare. Unless he's holding it like straight on, it's just gonna twist and wilt and is lame. Of note, however, is the fact that with his hand open, he can hold the Combiner Wars Devastator gun, which I think scales way better with him and looks infinitely cooler. Actually, speaking of Combiner Wars Devastator, should we get into a comparison? I think so. Alright, so now that we've got the two together, honestly, it is a little bit of a case of like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You know what I mean? Same dog, different leg. I think it'll really come down to whether or not people want articulation and individual robot modes or the sheer size and scale of Combiner Wars Devastator. Holding the pair of them, I think Studio Series Devastator might actually be heavier, which says a lot about what a hollow janky nightmare the Combiner Wars one is. Despite my fondness for that figure, I do think I prefer the Studio Series version. He's just so much more solid. He has more stage presence. And I definitely like that more muted green so much more than the neon acid green of the Combiner Wars one. He also just moves better and poses better. But there is no denying that that Combiner Wars version is still one hell of a toy. Then, by way of a couple of other comparisons, let's get him in alongside Menasor. So they look pretty good together. Devastator looks much chunkier than Menasor, but that's what I want from him. He's like the big bruiser combiner. Obviously there's one more member to the Constructicons than there is to the Stunticons, and you notice it. He's big, he's stacked, he's your strong boy. Menasor is who you go to when you need someone crazy. Devastator's who you go to when you need some punch and power. Then I obviously got to show him off alongside the beautiful 86 Megatron figure. And they look pretty good together. The styling is consistent, the flavor, the vibe, like I feel like the movie is in my hands. The scaling might be a little skew-whiff, but that G1 cartoon, their own scaling was consistently skew-whiff. They did wild things with size. It was an 80s cartoon. They were selling toys. So I guarantee someone will be able to find some example where this is the perfect scaling for these two. And that's pretty well it. I can't think of many other bots who are up to the challenge.
Me Grimlock love challenge.
And so that is a wrap. Man, this went deep. There was a lot to cover. What did you think? Did you have a good time? Did you like it? Man, there's just so much to say about this whole figure set. There's ups and downs. It's like life. Whoa. But each of them has their flaws, and individually, by modern standards, probably under-deliver on expectations, if I'm being honest. There's something really endearing about them when you get them all together. I just like them. They've done a really good job, in my opinion, of balancing that flat cartoon aesthetic with still giving you some surface detailing that mirrors the original toys a little bit more, so that it doesn't feel too minimalist. I want to know what y'all think. Be sure to hit me up in the comments below. Are you going to get him? Have you got him? How many have you got left? Have you already got them all? I'm not particularly quick to the punch on this one, so hopefully y'all have him in hand and can let me know how you're feeling about the whole thing. If you had a good time, please like, sub. Those things help inspire me to do more of this. Yeah. If you already have, way to go, you little legend. And until the next one, let's get nerdy with it. Catch!